Hi guys, we're just from a grassroots internet show called Truth News Australia. Basically we're just walking around getting some views on what's going on today and why you're here. I know it's a very general, vague question, but then it's sort of an amorphous group today who's come together. Does anyone want to just venture to have a statement about why they're here today?
We're all here for many, many different reasons. I'm not going to tell you why I'm here personally. I'm going to tell you my understanding of why people are doing this in general. Basically, the political system has become corrupt by corporate finance, and that leaves us out. The 99%, we can't participate in the political system because we can't buy the political system. So basically what we're saying, that coming into the future, that needs to change so that 99% of the population has access to the political system. In a nutshell, this is what I'm understanding that the kids are trying to stay in the States. I'm here against Monsanto, against Coca-Cola, against war, against the IMF, against the World Bank. I'm here for many millions of reasons. But people are here because the political process is being corrupted by money, and we need to get the money out of that political process so that we can all decide how we live. All right?
Okay, just in relation to
that. That's enough, mate. That's enough.
Okay. Well, thanks for giving us that. Cheers.
It's not more confusing than that.
Oh, well, there is more confusing because there's different views to the solution. No, there's quite well-known differences.
That's why we're here.
I mean, some people have a free market solution, other people have a collectivist solution. So I don't know what you stand for yet.
Seriously?
So you haven't actually told me. So I don't know what your solution is.
I have a question. I don't understand why the people try to find a solution on the left, on the right, or backward, and not trying to see something forward instead. Because we should, I know. But everybody tried to put someone under a label or just a preconception of some of the old ideas. We should instead try to define something new instead of demand a change to the people in power. So I believe that we can find something different, like, for example, a so-called resource-based economy that is just a way to share the resources in a proper way and tackle this problem from the logic point of view instead of bringing politics and some other crappy system like this one that is based on exploitation, basically. So the idea of this new economy is quite well defined, but now it's not the place to speak about that. You can find information on the internet. But yeah, now we are going to have this wonderful conversation and figure out what to propose, what we want as a new system, instead of demanding a change to a ruling class.
Okay. Very keen to find out what that is at some point. Thanks.
The 1%. I'm talking about a representative democracy that represents the people.
We're having a meeting.
Oh, really?
So if you guys want to do an interview, do you want to go off and do an interview?
Direct democracy, yeah? Now you're talking.
Democracy.
Should we move? How about we
Why? Are we just asking some questions? We're all about solutions here. Why don't you share your meeting with the general protest? What's the problem? It's a secret meeting. Yeah. Whatever.
Well, why are we here? That's the point. I've actually been trying to ask this question of various people here today, and I've actually met with some pretty hostile responses. They actually don't want to tell us.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But I think I can see why you're here today.
Oh, you know why I'm here.
Frank Lowy and the
Silverstein Towers, 1, 2 and 7, Westfield and Frank Lowy, yes.
Yeah.
A little known fact of the 9/11 attacks is that an Australian, Frank Lowy, was in partnership with Larry Silverstein, and still is, I believe.
Yes.
And that was worth a lot of money, that little job on 1, 2 and 7, wasn't it?
Oh,
about $6 billion, I think.
Oh, it was worth a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
Mr. Lowy was involved in it big time.
Yeah.
But nobody seems to bring that up.
And I believe Frank Lowy owns Westfield, is that right?
He owns Westfield.
Yeah, and they're a wonderful organisation. Do you know what Westfield has brought in now?
What?
A new system. It's scanners that actually track everyone who goes into the shopping centre. It actually tracks their mobile phone signal and keeps a constant data mining of everyone who's come into the shopping centre, so they can track and reverse market to them.
And that's every time you come into the building, they'd be able to do that?
Oh yeah, that's going in Australia-wide, yeah.
So if they're doing that inside the building, they're doing it everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the wonderful thing we call corporatism.
Yeah.
And, we have the population all herded into these shopping centres. We have everything owned by insanely rich people who are probably, some of them actually say we need higher taxation. Some of these are ultra elite people. I think it was Warren Buffett said, we need more taxation. I want to be taxed more. Of course, he's got all these offshore arrangements, and he's going to be cool. But what he wants is the people earning, say, a couple of $100,000 a year. Yeah, tax them. Let's make sure that they're brought right down so they've got no economic power. Anyone who's like earning over the average, which is like barely struggling to get by, let's just tax them so that they can't even. So that they can have actually no power in our society. That appears to be the agenda.
And hence that's why everybody is here today, because of that and because of these disgustingly horrible, greedy, dominating, controlling freaks.
Hi. I'm with Truth News Radio Australia, just a grassroots podcast news show. Can you give us your reasons for being here today and what do you think it's all about? Why are we here today?
Sure. I mean, I think that this might be the beginning of something big. There are a whole range of different sort of issues and demands here, but they're all about the effects of capitalism, which just uses people, uses our environment, and people here are saying they're fed up with it. We're the majority, we're not listened to, this is not a democracy. So all of us have our separate issues, but we're united by that. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of respect in the crowd, and maybe it'll be the beginning of something big. And even if it doesn't last, it's the beginning of a process.
So just from looking at your material here, you're a communist?
Yes, proudly so.
Now, I know it's difficult to give a quick answer to this, but can you explain to me how does a collectivist communist system not end up in total tyranny? Because every time in history when it's been tried, it ends up with a centralised power system, with loss of people's freedoms and rights, subjugation of the individual to the collective state, mass killings, as we saw under Stalin, as we saw under Pol Pot, as we saw under Mao. Are you in favour of those types of regimes, or are you actually proposing an alternative to that?
You are putting a particular view of what's happened in communist societies.
Do you dispute those regimes?
For example, I wouldn't call Pol Pot a communist society by any standards. I would also, when I'm looking at the old Soviet Union, and I lived for almost 10 years in the German Democratic Republic and worked there, you don't look at the fact of what happened for women, what happened with education, what happened with culture. You know, you're presenting to me aggressively a very one-sided picture. One of the things about what's going on here is that people are showing respect for each other's positions, each other's demands. If you look at what's happening in Latin America today and what's happening in Cuba, those are, if you like, the second round of our efforts to build socialism. They are different from what happened in Europe. If it happens here, it will be different again. But I know that socialism in its essence is democratic. It's about people, it's about the relationship between the individual and the collective and how that empowers both.
I'm not disputing there's been major progress with some of the socialist countries in South America, but I was talking about some specific examples there of large-scale socialist examples in history which have led to extreme totalitarianism. I mean, would you dispute that? And I'm not meaning to be disrespectful, and I don't see merely asking a question as being disrespectful.
Well, you're not asking a question. You're actually being fairly aggressive, and it's the kind of thing.
Well, how am I being aggressive? Why is it aggressive to ask a question?
They are kind of simplistic accusations, which are always, oh, communism's that, it's just totalitarian. The Soviet Union was not totalitarian. Were some people killed? Yes. But there are hundreds of thousands that the anti-communist media and academic industry point to, and I do not accept those figures. I don't say that the creation of the first socialist state was mistake-free and that some people didn't die who should not have died. But totalitarian state which massacred hundreds of thousands, no, that's garbage. That's anti-communist rhetoric.
So you basically dispute those facts?
You're not really...
Or you dispute those as facts? You say those things didn't occur?
I have said what I have said, and I would point out that yet again, instead of talking about what's wonderful here, you're going back in history. Communists in this country have nothing to be ashamed of. We have always fought on the side of the people, and in my experience of a socialist society, it was not totalitarian, it was very powerful, liberating for people within it. And if you come here and raise those questions, instead of talking about all the energy, all the different views, all the power that's here today in the interest of democracy, then you're not really interested in what's going on here. You're interested in attacking communists.
Well,
and you may be interested in doing that.
I don't think I'm interested in attacking. I'm actually interested in finding out your perspective on what the solutions are and offered you some dialogue there. So, but it sounds like what you're basically saying is don't talk about this.
No, that's not what I said.
Well,
I answered you.
That appears to be what
I
you're saying.
told you my understanding of the Soviet Union and the GDR, which I know much better.
Okay, well, you know, but I mean, there are two sides to that topic, and you know, certainly there are many scholarly books and many people who've researched that have come to different conclusions to you. So, I mean, there is a dialogue about that subject, which I think is a valid one. Or are you saying that you don't respect the dialogue and you don't even want to talk about it? Because we could certainly get into some of the details about what did happen within those regimes and then actually look at the solutions, look at the collectivist solution, and then see whether there's something intrinsic in it that might actually be subjugating human freedom.
No, there is nothing intrinsic in socialism which subjugates human freedom. Socialism, I said, looks to the dialectic between the individual and the collective and empowers both. You are asking me to engage in a dialogue with a history of anti-communist propaganda. I have said no socialist society has been perfect. Errors were made, people died who shouldn't have died. But if you want me to say that the old Soviet Union was totalitarian, it was not. And if you want me to say that hundreds of thousands of people were killed, it was not. But that is not what I want to talk about today, and it's not what you should be talking about today.
Well, thanks for the advice on what I should be talking about, but I don't think it's really your place to be telling me what I should be talking about. And that seems like a very totalitarian, intolerant point of view.
You said
to tell me what I should be talking about.
You said you came here to talk about this.
And as part of it was asking you a few questions.
Well, they're not really. They were very...
And your response seems to be that I shouldn't be asking those questions.
No, my response was something different, and you are not prepared to listen to what I'm saying. So why don't
I think I've been listening for quite a while. Okay, thank you very much.
You're